Okay, so before diving in into coding, I want to explain for the control flow of Sonia before getting our hands dirty on the code. So I'll be explaining the control flow of how the logic is going to be built. So here, permit my drawing. So here is Sonia. She's obviously a female, so I have to tag her with hairs, and this is Precious here. So the first thing that happens between our code is that Sonia says she invokes a speech. These are basically speech bubbles, chat bubbles in our just like we obviously know on our WhatsApp. She made her first speech by saying, "Hello Sonia, your virtual companion. Here's a list of what I could do." And at this point, she goes on further to tell Precious a list of things of what she could do. She didn't actually say this using her voice, but she actually printed this on the terminal. And then the next thing she did, she invoked her second speech by asking Precious what his name were. And at this point of this second speech, that was when Precious made his first speech, right? By replying, by telling Sonia his name, right? So at this point, what Sonia did was to take the name and invoke a third speech by welcoming Precious by saying, "Nice to meet you, Precious. What would you have me do?" At this point, she's asking Precious what he will have he or she do for him, and which is basically a tax. And then Precious initializes his second statement by second speech statement by giving Sonia a tax of what he wants her to do for him. And at this point, if Pressure should say, play me a music or play me a video, how do we detect that? How do we know what Precious is trying to tell Sonia to do? So at this point, we have, this is Sonia here, right? And there are two tags here we've built into our program. One is video and the other is music. So if Precious requests for music, Sonia is going to check. Sonia is going to check this request, this task here. Is task equals to video or is task equals to music, right? If task is equals to music, Sonia is going to walk through the music algorithm, the music flow. And she walking through here, what she will basically do first is to initialize the first speech by asking Precious, another speech, which is a new speech, a first speech, asking Precious what kind of music you want him to play. And Precious is going to initialize a third speech here. She takes that third speech, she looks into the third speech, right? And then searches a file. This is basically a file where we store a list of all the music on on our software. Parents is going to take this and then check. She take this right now, and then from here she checks the name of the music, and then she plays that music if that music is in the file. So the same process applies to the video. Same process applies to video. If Precious was requesting to be told a video at this point of speech two, she's going to check the task and then check if the task is a video or a music task. If the task is a video, what she's going to do is then enter the video block, and then from here she initializes her first speech by asking Precious to impress her, ask her he should be able to answer 4 questions correctly. Immediately after that, she initializes a second speech by telling Precious or playing the video with Precious. And then what she does is, after initializing that video for asking Precious, for telling Precious the video, she's going to wait for Precious to reply. Precious is going to initialize his own fourth speech, and then she checks at this point what she will do immediately after. She's going to check here if what the result here is correct with the riddle she just said here, if they are of equal answers, and if it's correct, she's going to initialize a third speech inside of this block, telling Petrus that, oh wow, that's correct. If it's not correct, this third speech is not going to be kind of like, so it's more like here now at this point, after here we have, is it correct? More like a true or false thing, or not correct. So if it's correct, she's going to tell Precious, initialize her third speech here by telling Precious. Precious, okay, this is correct. You did great. If it's not correct, she's still going to initialize a third speech, but with a different word or phrase. She's going to tell Precious not correct. Yeah, and then she's going to now go back. At this point, she's going to come back again and then initialize a new speech, a first speech again by telling Precious a new riddle. The whole logic goes forth and forth until the whole process is done. If this is not clear enough, don't worry. As soon as we start building, everything will become much clearer. I just need to do this to explain the logic that is happening. Uh, to give you a pictorial explanation of everything happening. So yeah, that's it for this video. In the next video, we're going to be setting for a machine for building the virtual assistant using Python.